would like to welcome Professor Tracy Templeton today, who is Head of Printmaking at Indiana University in the USA. Tracy's visiting us as part of her sabbatical tour around Europe and the UK, which sounds very fancy. And she's kindly visited CFPR this week and is going to be meeting the students after her talk. But for now, I will say over to you, Tracy. Thank you very much.
Oh, well, thank you. So I'd just like to start off by saying how grateful I am for the CFPR and the university giving me this opportunity to present an overview of my artistic work. And the use of photo printmaking is an important tool. So I use it both technically and conceptually. And although I currently reside and practice in the United States, my artistic identity is closely tied to my Canadian heritage. And during this talk, I'll hope to make clear how sense of place and commonalities in considering identity and place can shape creative dialogues. So growing up on the Canadian prairies profoundly influenced my creative perspective through exposure to vast, isolated landscapes and rural culture. Saskatchewan, encompassing nearly 652,000 square kilometers of prairie, foothills, grasslands, and lakes, instilled a profound appreciation for nature's expansiveness and solitude, a sensibility that is manifested in my artistic practice. My early artistic work focused on abandoned homesteads in southern Saskatchewan, a province that has historically relied on grain agriculture. And architectural remnants and domestic artifacts in my work symbolize an enduring human presence, while visually reflecting the economic and historical forces shaping the region. Understanding these forces is essential to contextualizing my artistic themes. The Great Depression and 1930s drought significantly impacted the region, resulting in a collapse of the wheat market and a 75% reduction in per capita income. The ensuing economic hardship compelled numerous individuals to abandon their homesteads in pursuit of financial stability. The post-World War II period witnessed increased mechanization in agriculture, which further transformed farming practices, leading to the consolidation of small family farms into more industrialized enterprises and accelerating rural to urban migration. These transformations fundamentally altered the traditional agricultural landscape, leaving enduring impacts on its physical and social structure, as evident by abandoned structures, changes in land use patterns, and evolving social dynamics. These elements now serve as subjects for artistic interpretation and documentation. Growing up on a multi-generational farm pictured that endured droughts and economic shifts until its sale in 1990 shaped my deep interest in rural decline and its visual representation. The isolation of the region was profound, marked by miles-wide separations between farms and numerous abandoned homesteads. These structures, filled with personal artifacts, serve as poignant reminders of harsh living conditions and abrupt departures. The region's extreme climate provides essential context for my work. Winters can reach -50 Celsius with wind chill and heavy snowfalls, while summers can rise up to 45 degrees Celsius, bringing severe weather such as hail, tornadoes, and dust storms. Natural forces dictate the gradual decay of abandoned sites, further emphasizing their isolation. My rural background grants me intimate access to these structures and their histories, offering insights beyond the commonly observed external views. These personal connections infuse my work with authenticity and depth, shaping my documentation of rural decline. In my artistic practice, I merge personal history with creative methodologies, using photography as a foundation layered with traditional printmaking. This process fosters an immersive experience, exploring memory, loss, and transformation. The interaction between photography and printmaking has historically allowed for technological innovation, enhancing artistic reach and capturing nuanced details through techniques like blurred focus, asymmetrical cropping, and pronounced perspective. Although some critics initially dismissed photography as mechanical and lacking the directness of handcrafted art, many artists embraced its vast creative potential. This intersection of technology and aesthetics led to profound shifts in art, with photography influencing not just printmaking, but also painting, science, cinema, exploring speed, time, abstraction, and scale. The aim of these advancements was not simply innovation, but a deeper understanding of how process and meaning intersect. Through this dynamic fusion of photography and printmaking, I strive to craft visual narratives that resonate with viewers, encouraging them to engage with both photographic and drawn spaces while reflecting on overlooked societal stories. The aim of these advancements was not only simply um, a deeper understanding, but how the meanings intersect. In my etchings series titled Prolonged Absence, I deliberately eschewed nostalgic sentimentality by adopting an analytical approach to capture and present defamiliarized images of abandoned farmhouse interiors. Through careful composition and processing techniques, I intentionally stripped these visual representations of their specific post-colonial narratives. This methodological decision was made to allow the images to transcend their immediate temporal and geographical associations, thereby inviting viewers to engage with the photographs on a more abstract and universal level. I used photopolymer printmaking for these works, employing DuPont's laminate film to achieve detailed imagery with tonal gradations. This method involves using a light-sensitive film and photopositives, which once developed and cured, act as an acid resist. I then etch the image, remove the film, and further refine the copper plate with spit bite, aquatint, and soft ground, as well as other processes. This means combines the mechanical precision of photographic detail with the rich tactile qualities of traditional printmaking. This results in works that balance subtle textures and depth with clarity and realism. The incorporation of photographic elements into a traditional intaglio highlights the versatility of this method. By removing identifiable markers of time and place, the images encourage a broader contemplation of themes such as abandonment, the passage of time, and the impermanence of human habitation. This approach not only challenges conventional representations of rural decay, but also prompts a more nuanced exploration of the complex relationships between space, memory, and cultural identity in the context of post-colonial landscapes. Partially inspired by Russian filmmaker Andrei Tarkovsky, I adopted his use of associative links and slow, deliberate pacing to evoke a preconscious emotional resonance. Tarkovsky's assertion that the artist breaks down reality in the prism of his perception aligns with my approach of pairing scenes to their essentials, allowing them to suggest broader, universal themes. I ascribe the way I combine my imagery to the associative links he uses to establish oblique relationships on a preconscious level. My repeated use of long panorama, reduced spaces, and subtext through nondescript textures is not unlike his characteristic slow panning, which allows time for the scene to take effect on the viewer. In my case, I use separated panels for these large prints, which are about 1.5 meters long, that break up that effect on the viewer. Other artists have profoundly influenced my work, most notably Tokyo University of the Arts Professor Emeritus Tetsuya Noda, who introduced me to the Japanese concept of Ma. Rooted in traditional Japanese aesthetics, Ma refers to the space or pause between events, those fleeting moments of stillness, anticipation, or transition that exists within the flow of time. It highlights the significance of intervals, inviting a deeper awareness of the unseen and often overlooked elements that connect larger occurrences. This philosophy resonates deeply with my artistic practice as I seek to emphasize the liminal spaces where meaning resides. Much like the moments of reflection between actions or interstitial moments, encouraging viewers to engage with the subtle yet profound rhythm of presence and absence. Nota's vast negative spaces often mirror the open, solitary landscape of the Canadian prairies, inviting reflection and creating emotional depth. Like the prairies, the emptiness in his work enhances the composition, evoking quiet beauty and contemplation. The horizon, where land meets sky, is a defining feature of the prairie landscape, encapsulating both its vastness and our place within it. This ever present yet shifting boundary serves as a visual anchor, symbolizing both continuity and change. In the expansive flatness of the prairies, the horizon becomes especially significant, offering a sense of scale, direction, and the infinite possibilities beyond. Both geographical and emotional landscapes share striking parallels within the printmaking process. Just as glaciers, rain, drought, and snow shape the land, personal and global events etch themselves into our identities. This layered imprint of experience and environment mirrors the transformative nature of both topography and artistic creation. In the artistic series Nomadic Landscapes, I transitioned from photographing abandoned sites to creating tableaus, shifting from literal representation to a slightly more abstract exploration of spatial temporal concepts. Through the manipulation of bed sheets and linens, I constructed expansive prairie vistas that evoke themes of journey, migration, and transformation. This approach allowed me to reimagine the geography of my imagination, reflecting on the immigrant experience and its associated notions of home and belonging. My own is much more marginal than most, of course. This shift to tableaus facilitated a deeper engagement with transient liminal spaces, aligning with Yi Fu Tuan's concept of topophilia. From Greek topos, meaning place, and philia for love, it examines the emotional connection between individuals and their environment. And although Yifu Tuan studies this in degrees and levels of clarity, mine is taken in a much more general or broad approach. In my work, these constructed spaces, intentionally ambiguous in time and place, serve as metaphors for displacement and transformation. By integrating print media and meticulously composing elements, I hope to transcend specific temporal and spatial contexts, inviting viewers to contemplate the fluidity of identity and the complex relationships between self and place. The resulting work functions as an abstract meditation on migration, belonging, and the subjective nature of home. Through this exploration, I aim to challenge conventional representations of landscape and identity, offering a nuanced perspective on the immigrant experience and the psychological impact of displacement. I have also drawn inspiration from Tadayoshi Nagabayashi's work when creating my next suite. Nagabayashi is really interesting in that his practice epitomizes quite literally the ground beneath our feet, focusing on the overlooked and the everyday. As a young man after World War II, he traveled across Japan and Europe, looking at the transformation of the landscape. His meticulous attention to detail elevates seemingly inconsequential subjects, stones, soil, and fragments of the earth, transforming them into profound meditations on presence and place. By grounding his work in the tangible and the ordinary, Nagabayashi underscores the richness of what is often dismissed or ignored, encouraging viewers to find beauty and significance in the mundane. Building on these ideas, my sweet finding home reflects my personal experience of transporting inherited belongings from Canada to my US residence. These items, once deeply embedded in their original context, become monumental and untethered, symbolizing a shared history and a fragmented sense of belonging. Through their recontextualization, these objects become repositories of memory and emotion, embodying the themes of displacement and connection that shape the immigrant experience. This concept resonates with Gaston Bachelard's reflections in The Poetics of Space. He speaks of objects as more than a personal material possession, describing them as hybrid objects, subject objects, that possess their own psychological life. He writes, like us, through us, and for us, they have a quality of intimacy. In finding home, these objects take on this duality, serving not only as physical artifacts, but also as vessels for intimate memories and emotional narratives. They exist between their functional reality and their symbolic weight, embodying both the personal and the universal experiences of home and displacement. In this next body of work, the absence of the human figure, which has been a defining feature of most of my work, often suggested through figure-like forms and intimate vernacular objects that convey a sense of ubiquity, has changed. So another reoccurring motif within my practice is the empty bed, a potent and multifaceted symbol of human presence, transformation, absence, and loss. In this context, the bed transcends its role as a mere object, functioning instead as sanctuary, a site of retreat, renewal, and introspection. When the human figure is introduced, the bed takes on additional layers of meaning, evoking a nesting place for dreaming, healing, reminiscing, and grieving. It transforms into both a physical and emotional landscape, resonating deeply on both personal and universal levels. My idea was that entousled or shrouded in a landscape of linens, we immerse ourselves in a topography of emotion, love, elation, loss, absence, death, and life, depending on the moment. These emotions shift and evolve depending on the context and the moment, much like the ever-changing landscape of memory and experience. The vulnerability of the resting or restless body acts as a focal point, anchoring these feelings in the visceral realities of lived experience. This vulnerability invites the viewer to share in these emotions, expanding the deeply personal into a shared collective space of reflection and connection. In this way, the work transcends the individual and fosters a deeper dialogue about grief, healing, as well as the human condition. In an accompanying piece to Somewhere in Between is Grief, an installation and participatory work using screen-printed text on handkerchiefs. These handkerchiefs extend an implicit invitation to the viewer to engage with the act of grieving. As the title suggests, viewers are prompted to take a moment to acknowledge and share their experience of grief. Some participants chose to carry a handkerchief with them through the gallery, imprinting it with the scent of their cologne or wrinkles from being clutched, creating an intimate trace of their presence. Some took the handkerchiefs, which they were allowed to, while others returned the handkerchief to its place before departing, marking its journey through subtle signs of use. This act of carrying or returning symbolizes an intimate proximity to grief, making tangible the connection between the physical object and the deeply personal emotions it represents. Through this interaction, grief transforms into a shared participatory exploration of loss and the collective rituals that allow us to process as well as honor it. My newer bodies of work integrates elements from the past projects, but more specifically addresses the theme of sanctuary, particularly in relating to dislocation. I have increasingly embraced digital photography and the layering of multiple images to construct specific environments. By capturing fragments of snow, northern lights, and beds, and interweaving them with recontextualized moments from news media, I explore connections to current events while drawing resonances with my earlier work. This trajectory is deeply influenced by themes of migration, homelessness, and transient temporalities. Through my imagery, I synthesize these ideas with a broad interpretation of the concept of journey, both physical and metaphorical, shaped by ongoing dialogue at the forefront of the international consciousness. Snow functions as a central motif in my work, embodying both simplicity and profundity. I hold the belief that physical or spiritual journeys are fundamentally necessary for individuals to seek their own sanctuary. The snowy night sky and crumpled sheets evoke an unsettled sense of unease inherent in shifting moments, while the soft sheets and pillows suggest the essential rest and dreams needed for personal growth. Growing up in the stark, unforgiving landscape of the Canadian prairies, snow was a very dominant presence, shaping my existence for several months each year. Blizzards and towering drifts, sometimes reaching 2 to 3 meters, frequently confined us indoors, forcing introspection. Snow's ability to disrupt the rhythm of daily life transformed it into a form of sanctuary, a dampening force that encouraged contemplation, dreaming, as well as reevaluation. Within its crystalline structures and the quiet it imposed, I discovered a profound space for reflection. Revisiting earlier visual motifs, I re-examined the lines I once used to signify folds or tears, or just the breaks in plate marks, and reintroduced these marks into my current practice. This work draws significant inspiration from the philosophy of kintsugi, or golden joinery. This Japanese art of repairing broken pottery with gold emphasizes the fractures rather than concealing them, honoring an object's history. Similarly, the golden lines in my work transcend the spatial and temporal dimensions of the physical wounds. These marks serve as traces of torn folds, resembling weathered maps carried through the journeys of life. They venerate damage, or in this context, dislocated moments captured in images, as something to be celebrated. In this work, I would cut the top layer of Japanese paper and insert the gold into the cuts rather than layering it on top for a type of authenticity. I have also explored a wide range of digitally coded textiles to identify materials that best achieve a more physically profound manifestation of my work. This research culminated in the use of cotton sateen, a fabric comparable to the bed linens I've photographed. I use it for its smooth texture and reflective qualities. The choice of this material enhances the tactile and visual impact of the work, fostering a deeper engagement with its themes. The grander scale of the pieces, combined with the subtle motion and sway of the fabric, encourages close study of the folds and crevices in these cloth prints. These work oscillate between two-dimensional imagery and three-dimensional form, challenging viewers to discern the actual folds in the fabric from those rendered pictorially. And on a few occasions, while installing these and steaming them, we have tried to get out wrinkles that simply were not there. To complement this dynamic interplay, I finished the hems with undulating clear and smoke tone nylon thread that matches the total variations within the images, creating a seamless integration of material and visual design. Displayed as though they were heavy drapes, the work gather and sometimes fall to the floor, creating a tangible connection to the viewer's physical space. This interaction bridges the gap between the viewer and the imagery's invented enigmatic world. The result is a layered experience that blends moment of obscure beauty with a gentle yet persistent sense of unease, subtly revealed through the tactile and spatial intrusion of the fabric into the viewer's environment. I often crumple it onto the floor to mimic snow, and the work is hung on a curtain rod that can be adjusted for installation, so the works can fall completely to the floor or any variation in between. In a recent mixed media piece, I aligned my creative process with the conceptual value of a prototype or pattern that frames future possibilities. This installation serves as a testing ground for imagined places as new histories, employing surreal, ambiguous landscape imagery that merges close and obscure depths of field with segmented physical orientations. The work investigates the gravity of first-hand encounters through a spatialized understanding, fusing multiple perspectives into a singular cohesive experience. By sublimating these temporalities, the installation challenges conventional perceptions of time and space, inviting viewers to engage with it as both a conceptual and material exploration. The digitally printed mylar pieces are stretched across aluminum mounts. The thin mylar's plasticity evokes a sense of fragility and impermanence, aligning with the fleeting nature of memory and the instability of constructed histories. Meanwhile, the top mounting provides a structural counterpoint, imparting rigidity and formality that ground the ethereal qualities of it. Gold tone foil is selectively applied, introducing a tactile richness and visual warmth that contrasts with the cool synthetic sheen of the mylar. The gold foil not only stitches the fragmented imagery together, but also imbues the installation with a sense of continuity, linking the elements. Together, these materials create a dialogue between surface and depth, fragility and impermanence, encouraging viewers to navigate the interplay between imagined and physical realities within the work. I am deeply interested in the artist book as a fragmented and reimagined form of language, a fascination that has been enriched through my teaching of artist books in the Indiana University Venice program at Schola Graphica. This interest has led me to engage in extensive material research, exploring digital papers, binding materials, and alternative book forms to push the boundaries of conventional bookmaking. My research has focused on understanding the structural intricacies of book construction and folding techniques, aiming to interlace language and image in a way that bridges print installation with the traditions of deconstructed book. By doing so, I have sought to create unique platforms for exhibition and challenge conventional notions of form and sequence. A key aspect of my engagement with artist books is the dialogue between labor and experience. I am particularly drawn to the intensive, often invisible craftsmanship required in bookmaking, work that disappears into the seamless experience of reading, interpreting language, and engaging with visual narratives. This duality of form and content guided my intent to harness the book's dual potential: an intimate, tactile encounter when handheld, offering a personal time-space immersion, and a transformative spatial presence where unfolded, fully laid out on a table, or suspended by hidden magnets in the book covers for installation. In this latter format, the book transcends its traditional boundaries, enveloping the viewer's physical space while retaining its essential narrative function. These decisions reflect my commitment to exploring how materiality and form could shape the viewer's interaction with language and imagery, creating layered, multifaceted experiences. In recent months, I have returned to etching, focusing on an intimate scale through photogravure, a traditional process that stands apart from my previous photopolymer photo printing due to its vast continuous tone and range of depth. This meticulous process enables me to construct intricate spaces that are deeply rooted in the interplay of materiality and visual expression, where even the smallest details are brought to life, inviting a close, deliberate observation. Photography always remains at the core of my practice, shaping and anchoring all my creative endeavors. It serves not only as the foundation of my work, but also as a lens through which I interrogate and reimagine material, concept, and process. Whether digitally manipulated, meticulously augmented with etching, or integrated into larger printmaking methodologies, photography provides a visual language that informs my artistic vocabulary. And the resulting works achieve a multi-dimensional quality marked by vigor and subtlety that underscores the ever-evolving relationship between photography and print. Thank you very much for your attention.
That was fantastic. Thank you, Tracy.